right. Okie dokie. Hi, anybody that might be joining in here. I'm doing my first stream of 2025 today. I haven't been doing streams because I haven't been feeling well, and lots of other things going on. So, hi, how are you? I hope you had good holidays, and I hope that you and your loved ones are all well. Hiya, Linda. Hiya, Tim. And hi to everybody that might be joining us. Anyways, I've been doing a lot of stuff, but one of the principal things that I've been doing is an ongoing book, which I haven't really done on the stream here in some time. So I'm having fun with it. I don't know how people feel about it, but that's okay. And the other thing is I've been finishing off a bunch of pages that I never followed through on. I posted almost 30 pages at the end of last year that are all pages that, it started, I laid the whole thing out, and I just never finished them. And, so if you take that, my count last year for pages was 342 finished pages, and then 28 pages that I just never did the finish on. So, yeah, that was pretty productive last year. That's for the one-page story stuff. And I've got a whole bunch of one-page stories I got to post. I just haven't got to it. Because I've been focusing on this ongoing story. So, I hope people find that interesting and not too confusing. Hopefully it's going to make more and more sense as we go along. But it's a project that I've wanted to do for some time. And I'm really enjoying it. Hopefully everybody can hear me, by the way. Let me make sure my mic's on. Yeah, my mic's on. There we go. Okay, so I got the sketchbook out here. I've been doing lots of little doodling and whatnot of late, and but I went and picked up something, and let me show you them. This is, I saw them do things like this, reach out, on a limb with stuff, but I was getting some more cardstock because I had almost gone completely through my cardstock supply. So I was going to pick some more up, and while I was at the store picking those up, I found an inexpensive random set of pens that work out to be about $1 something a piece. And these are Staedtler pigment markers, right? Pigment brush pens. Now I've never bought Staedtler ones before, but these are lovely. I'm really enjoying these, and so these are drawn with these Staedtlers. There's 3 colors. There's the red or the I guess it's kind of a sienna color, and then the yellow is kind of an ochre, and then the brown is kind of an umber. So your basic earth tones right there, and but that's not why I bought them. I bought them because of these 3 basic grays. Because I've never been happy with the gray markers that I come across, like the Tombow watercolor ones, the really tall brushes. Yeah, they don't do it for me. And this is also Tombow. This is the Fudenosuke brush markers. Again, they don't do it for me. They're a hard tip as opposed to a soft tip, and that doesn't give. There's not enough flexibility, basically. Hard tip, soft tip, get it? Whereas these beautiful little babies, there's a part of me that feels like I need to just find lots more of these at an incredibly inexpensive place, and I have no idea how to do that. So, so I picked up those, and I also picked up a Faber-Castell Goldfaber Castell gray pencil, and this is the pencil brand that I really like. It's got my favorite white. I like this white even more than a Prismacolor, and so I went and picked up the gray, and the gray gives me all kinds of tonal control. So this this face here is drawn by hiya Jim, how you doing, buddy? This is these. So with the black Fudenosuke for the outline and the eyes. So I'm really pleased with these things, and if you're looking for a decent marker that lets you just sketch draw and not be too worked up, I think you might want to try these out. In here, oh, I also got another Faber-Castell. I got this white Pitt Artist pen, but this is not the brush. It's a 1.5, and yet despite it being a 1.5, that's a powerful white. That is a powerful white mark that it puts down. So I'm really pleased with this. So that's great. Hey, Jim Luan's here. Jim finished his film. This is exciting stuff. I really pleased to have been a part of that, and I really appreciated that Jim invited me on board to do some voice stuff for him. But if you get a chance, check out Jim's work, please. My goodness, that and he does a lot of music too, and it's also very good. Anyways, the reason I bought these art supplies is because I was on a mad search for jelly roll pens. I couldn't find any in London, so I came up with the Faber-Castell as a solution. So what I've been doing, aside from illustrating all these book pages that I've been putting out, and I hope people like the sci-fi, and I hope people go through and read it, I actually joined X and started posting them on there. But I'm still putting the original art, and I got a whole bunch of other stuff to dump on Patreon as well. And thank you everybody supporting me on Patreon. So, yeah, I'm still doing what I'm doing, but I'm trying to focus on this principal singular story and to follow through and to see where it takes me. I plan it out in 6-page lumps, and so now I'm on my second 6-page lump, because today was page 8, and I've got 9, 10, and 11 already laid out, and you know, so it's just having to sit down and scan and color and letter those. I'm really having fun with the coloring I'm doing on the pages, the rules I've set out for myself. I'm pretty pleased by. Is that better? I think it's better. So that's, you know, it's all about you know, trying stuff out and to see what sticks. And I wanted to do this for a while, and I haven't done it because you know, once you start into something, you sort of tend to think you have to hold to it, right? And so the 1-page thing, in the last 2 years, I've done over 700 1-page stories, and you know, so it's yeah, it's time to work on a short story. The very minimum is a short story for right now, a little sci-fi piece. Robert says, more gain. I've got to get everything figured out again here. I got to talk louder. I realize what my miking problem really is, and it's the fact that I'm quiet. It's less about the microphone and far more about not talking loud enough or projecting and eliminating background noises. So, yeah. Not gain giant. Did I say 6? Robert says, I met you in person, and you are quite giant, he says. Thanks, Robert. Quiet, he means. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm a quiet guy, so, yeah. So I got to project louder, folks. I'm sorry for that. Linda says, did you say a 6-page lump? Yeah, so I plot out the story. I have an idea of where it's going to go, but I only parcel what I plan to do 6 pages at a time. And the reason that I do that, there's different methods of working and putting together pieces, okay? And one way is full script, everything's already written all out, and you start at the beginning and you just go through and you illustrate the whole thing as it's laid out. That works for some people. Other people do the bounce around method, where the whole story is structured and laid out, but then they bounce around, draw the pages that they want to, and fill in the ones that they need to, and then have the project completed in a lump. And then another method is a writer gives a synopsis of an idea, and then the artist goes and actually does it and creates the story, which is the Marvel method. And then they go back and script it. The way that I tend to work is for the one-page stories, somebody suggested a random idea, and then my head goes off, and I do whatever I do. And so I've done over 700 of those in 2 years, right? And which is great, but the way that I'm writing this story is by lumping it out in 6-page pieces and just focusing on the individual page at each time. It's still sort of working with that one-page story method. I'm invested in what's happening on this page. And then when I go to do the next page, if it's continuing what was, the scene, the narrative from the previous page, then I'll link it together. But I'm focusing on the actions within that page, which is honestly what anybody does when they work from page to page. So then when I jump to the next lump of characters, and they're all coming together into one point now in the story. So by page 10, everybody's in the same place. So, but I want to spend time, a couple pages here, couple pages there, couple pages here, to introduce each of the characters in their own right. Because I think a lot of problems that are faced by modern storybooks, modern sequential books, is that there's not enough time spent really for us to understand who people are. And oftentimes there's some assumption on this is who this character is, this is who this type of character is, and this is who that type of character is, as opposed to allowing you to have a couple of pages of understanding the meat and potatoes of this person. This person is athletic and they're competitive for this sport where ridiculously you're trying to duck metal balls that are whizzing around in an arena. That's the one character. His mother controls it's a matriarchal society on that where he comes from, so his mom controls things. He has family has a female bodyguard. If he's going off to the competition, the female bodyguard is sending her daughter, who's also a bodyguard, to be his escort and his bodyguard ostensibly. So 2 pages, right? There's a couple of pages about a medical facility where this young girl who's had constant headaches, and they don't understand what's been going on with her. For years they've been trying to figure out what's going on with this person, and it's only now at 15, 16 do they realize that she has telepathy. Again, sci-fi story. So in this future, the suggestion is that telepathy and any psionic abilities, so all that stuff that paranormal, super paranormal research tries to say that psionic abilities exist, where you can have telekinesis or levitation or telepathy in the world today. In this far distant future, maybe people do start getting it. But the last time that people started developing these abilities, it went wrong. And so there's doctrines in place that any telepaths that are found, the government's coming for them. What they do with them, we'll get to that. And then the characters introduced today are, and then we go back to the hospital where the military shows up and everybody at the hospital's in trouble. We'll get back to that. And then the characters introduced today is a brother and sister that are off to find work out at the edge of a solar system. So, like I don't know, in the Oort cloud. I haven't got to that yet. But so what's happening next is everybody's coalescing on this shuttle that's off to the deep rim. The telepath, because she's on the run, the Magnum Ball kid because he's off to be competitively playing out in this room where this game is popular. The twins because they're out to look for work. So it's taking all these different little stories and weaving them together. But it's still basically doing short story pieces that, the idea is to make the overall story more complex is you allow everybody to have equal merit. And because my intention is, that all of these stories coagulate into a principal narrative. But what this is helping me to do is to facilitate some level of understanding, to have those little break-off moments where these two people need to talk in a hallway about how they feel about where things are going. And again, as we develop our writing skill sets over the course of projects, those are the things that oftentimes get lost for a singular principal narrative of, this person is the principal protagonist and everything has to involve that person somehow in the scene, as opposed to, and then when that person who writes like that, as opposed to a group book where everybody should have their own identity, but when you write from a protagonist-centric base, when you go to write a book that has a group of characters in it, what I've been finding recently in a lot of books that have been coming out is everybody goes places as a group. And as opposed to, well, where's this person's developmental arc? And where's this person's developmental arc? And where's that person's developmental arc? Everything happens in a group dynamic. And the world don't work that way. So, everybody has little sides and everybody has little... When everybody gets together, at the end of the get-together, there's always a couple of people that continue chatting. Or this person will give that person a lift home and they chat on the drive. There's always things. So I think the real benefit that I've been learning through doing all of the one-page stories over the last few years is that it's really helped me develop a comprehension of being able to focus on specific characters in the moment and to try to be able to not just extrapolate what's going on in this moment, in this scene, through the visual part of it, but how much more information maybe I can texture into it textually. Textually? Yeah. So, so I'm having a lot of fun. And I haven't really got much response on it from anybody, but that's okay. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because it's something that I've intended to do probably for about a year. A solid year. I've been wanting to sort of approach this sci-fi notion that I had. But I have underlying rules for the system. The idea is that in the future we have expanded throughout our solar system. And because I don't know if you know anything about our solar system, surrounding our solar system is something that we call the Oort cloud. And it's basically, we know that there's the Kuiper belt inside our solar system, which is this sort of ring of asteroids in our solar system. Goes around the sun. But at the edge of our solar system, the Oort cloud basically is like a big shell of an asteroid system. That's, not entirely accurate, but you get it. And so we haven't gone past that. Even though the Voyager probes have gone past that, but we haven't gone past that. And in the future, we are at the edge of it. That's where my story takes place. So, what I was thinking of doing today is, because I'm always sketching in my book, the reason that there's scribbles all over these pages is because I was teaching some kids, and one of the kids says, she put away her page and said, I can't draw this now because I made a mistake on it. And I said, so what does that matter? Keep going, have fun. No, I can't. You can't. You have to use different paper when you make a mistake on it. And I said, because she had seen this page as I was doing something on the side when the kids came in. I said, you know the picture that I drew? She goes, yeah, that was pretty. And I went, okay, well, hold on. I opened it up to it, and I take a pencil and I scribbled on it. And she said, what? How come you did that? And I said, because it doesn't matter. This is my sketches and my drawings from looking at pictures and things, and this is for me. I'm drawing for me. And so if I can do that, I should have no problem with making scribbles on it, because they don't matter, right? It's mistakes happen. It doesn't change the fact that you enjoy drawing. So miraculously, she picked up a pencil and got back to work. Didn't think that would work, but okay. So I've got these Staedtlers that I was talking about, and what I thought I might do, there's a little King Kong action for people, is that there's sometimes the things that help us develop and further our understanding is just drawing to draw. And you know, I've got random books around in the studio at all times, and pardon me. And so I thought maybe I would just put together some images and see where that takes me. But more importantly, it's getting me a handle on these Staedtler markers, because I'm trying to get past a cold here. So what it's letting me understand is, you know, what I can do with those. And yeah, look at that. The colors actually are the colors they say they are. So I thought I'd just draw some different things and see where that takes me. Am I in frame? Yep. So sometimes one of the things that I do is that I like to draw with shape and with form and with value before I worry about drawing with line art. And so these guys are fantastic and ideal, because what they afford me is the opportunity to do that in these different scales of value. So there's all kinds of images that you know, just little snippets of things that if we just take a second. So I found a photo here in front of me, and it's just a shot of New York, but it's a shot that's got the old twin towers that are no longer there in the background. But what's interesting about it is the framing of it. I find that kind of keen. And what, of course, doing this with these different colored markers is doing for me is to let me understand the difference, the values in the planes. Linda says, you're using your new Staedtler pens markers today. Cool. Oh, thanks, Linda. So this is just taking this static image and learning from that. You know, just, let me see if I got, yeah. Without any expectation beyond just the experiment of putting together this image within a frame and seeing what it can teach me, seeing what I can learn from that. Let's put a top on that. So, and then I've got this intermediate one, so that if I want to put some shadow on the one side of the buildings, that it still works, that you still understand that this foreground is removed from what's in the background. Yeah, that's kind of fun. One of the things that I talk about on a regular basis is using 3 values to figure out your foreground, your middle ground, and your background. So when you're doing a composition, oftentimes if we get confused about, you know, in our execution, we want to make sure that not only do we not be confused, but the reader isn't confused in understanding the depth that we're trying to imply in our drawings. So if, say, is this the lightest one? I think it's the lightest one. So let's say I do a scene of New York City in the background, okay? We'll put those twin towers in there again. It's the fringe universe, folks. And so I've got these cities, this building of, the city of buildings, holy camole, in the background here. All right. And then I'll have a little perspective applied in there on them. Okay, but now if I'm going to take a second value, and so I'm going to play with the idea of the foreground and that there's some buildings on the, is this in frame? It's in frame. Here, I'll zoom in and I'll get it, there we go. So if I'm going to put some buildings in the foreground, you know, that are along the waterfront or whatever, just to sort of continue this little, the structure of the city face. If I want to really push things along, and so I'm going to put some little marks in here to kind of imply water, and I'm going to play with this principal value, just give a little more depth to those. But if I really want to push perspective and depth, I'll take that third value and I'm going to run, so this is like, you'll see this in a lot of these shots of New York where you'll have the view coming into the city, you know, as people are driving across these bridges, right? And so here's this big bridge sitting right across the face of the image. So by putting this in the foreground, now honestly I would use a solid black over this dark gray here, but it's still, the principal idea still stays. But by putting this right in the foreground, it helps the reader to understand that one thing is in front of the next. Right? Ideally. I would use the black, just because the black really punches it forward, like really emphasizes this is in the foreground. But anyhow, so hopefully that helps the reader to understand, as we're moving in on our shot, what's closest to us, what's in between, and what's behind. And if I can do that, depending on how we use those different gray tones, like the lighter value seems to be more distant in this context. The middle value seems to be a little more clear and focus, or closer to us. And then the dark value, the silhouette, it just has that sense of weight. It's like the Hans Hofmann school, the push and pull of value, the push and pull of color. A blue rectangular square that's, let's say, 2 inches by 2 inches on this side of your canvas can be equal in value to, say, a 5-inch diameter yellow circle. But because of the different intensity and value of these two colors, this is deep, dark, heavier, denser, this is lighter, so you need more volume in order to have the same governance of weight, to give a sort of sense of symmetry or balance to them. Hans Hofmann's really interesting. Read up on Hans Hofmann if you get a moment. So that's the idea. That's the principal idea behind it, is to play with, you know, how that value works. So here, see, this is what I'm talking about. As I put the black in, it really pulls it forward. And it really distinctly separates it from that mid and background. And then the neutral of the white in between this mid value and the lighter value, the neutral of the white there just emphasizes it because of the contrast to that white surface of the water to the land. As it kicks in, the contrast really separates those spaces. So, you know, this is what I do when I'm playing with pens, or I'll see something cool, I'll be like, I'm gonna draw that crazy face like the King Kong, and I don't overthink it. I don't try to, here we go. So I've got a little thumbnail over here, okay? This is the little thumbnail that I've got. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know. It looks like Bruce Willis. I don't know. But can't see what the title of that movie is. So you saw the size of the thumbnail. So I'm going to move King Kong over. So I've got this small space to work from here. And I'll get my big head out of the way. There we go. So now we've got a little more space to look at. So if I'm going to take this light pen to start off with, okay, and I'm going to break down this composition. No, that's the intermediate. I'm getting used to it. So if I'm going to break down this composition, I'm going to draw the parts of it that I'm not worried about crossing over some of these lines or some of these values that I'm putting down. What it's really doing by drawing everything in this flat value helps me to get some understanding of the overall picture, but it also helps me to project forward about how some of these characters and the scene are going to interact. How I get to make those choices about what I'm going to emphasize on the dark and what I'm going to emphasize on the light. You know, because your source image is just a source image. It doesn't mean that this is what you have to stick with. It's just something that helps you have an understanding of what it is that you're working from, right? It gives you a nuanced little idea into, here's the suggestion of a city street, work from that. If you take a source image and you just try to replicate it, you're not going to be happy, because your focus needs to be whatever the story is, whatever the moment is that you're telling. And it's got to be free and quick and honest, and you can change the perspective of people, and you can change, you know, outfits, and you can change scenarios that they're in, like the context of the scene. Why not change the background a little bit? Why not emphasize or de-emphasize on elements that are in your pictures? Your drawings are your drawings. Doo-dah, doo-dah. So I usually find that at this stage of laying out an image, it's fairly abstract. There's an awful lot of abstraction in a drawing, so much so that because you're working quickly and because you're working loosely and open to adjusting certain marks that are down, you want to emphasize this, you want to de-emphasize that, it automatically changes things. It automatically changes from whatever you're working, you know, whatever your source is that you're working from. Allow that. Lean into that. Embrace that. Enjoy it, right? So now I'm going to come in with this darker value, and I'm going to start picking out pieces of information that is in this drawing already, that's already in the composition. I'll put in some more folds in the clothing, right? A little direction in the form a little bit more by putting in some of these lines with, you know, that are clearly moving in this way, sort of implying that the character is moving in that direction. If I really emphasize the shape of that head, we can change it a little bit. That nods them over to the side, you know. And can add in some more pieces of detail in the background. We can follow through on some of the detail that we already have there, give it a little more form and body. But you don't have to go over everything. You're using this second value as a sort of emphasis point, right? So, you know, it's there's no real hard fast rules to this. It's just how I do it. So if I'm going to come in on our character's face with the second tone, trying to add in a little more expression in the eyes. I'm going to turn up the eyebrows a little bit more. Really use the point of that pen, and downturn the mustache a little more. Give a little more sullen expression to the character. Because, you know, I'm using a small thumbnail, and Chris has forgot to put his glasses on his face. Remedied. Can't really make out a lot of the details, but that's good. That's not what our source information is really for us. We're not, unless you're doing a specific job where somebody says, hey, draw a B-52 from World War II. I want it to actually look like a real B-52 from World War II. Okay, well then you're going to draw a B-52. And you're going to probably source images to do that. But if you're just creating your own stories, or you're just drawing for drawing's sake, allow yourself to just follow where your marks go on their own. So now we've got this guy looking back, and then we've got these other people in behind him. So the decision comes in now that depending on the amount of detail on the people in the background is going to change the emphasis one way or another. Like, is it equal emphasis on all these different characters, or how do I put emphasis more on the principal guy I want you focused on? And that's where we can jump in with an even darker value. So even though we're only using gray tones, pardon me, even though we're only using gray tones, we can get an awful lot of stuff to happen in our scenes, and an awful lot of information into our drawings, into our compositions. So now I'm just putting in some more little abstract shapes, little bits and bobs, just to further the complexity of the overall image. Just giving a little something more, right? So there's another thing I'll do too. So first off, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to darken up our guy in the foreground, darken up his suit, put a little bit more emphasis on certain parts of his face. And then, which hopefully will pull him out from the background. But I don't do complete lines when I go around. I know that there's different techniques that people use when they're putting emphasis inks on stuff. Robert Doan, who's jumped into a fantastic inker, and I'm sure that some of the things that I do with ink makes Robert smack his forehead. What's he doing? But I tend not to do a complete line. If I've got a face, okay, like if I've got let's do this. We'll put a person's face. Here's his eye. Here's a little close-up on this guy's noggin, okay? So if I've got some of this information put together here with this value, as if I'm going through and inking afterwards with the darker value, or with like a black, then I'll put in certain marks. But when it comes to, I'm learning that you can't go over these gray markers with a Fudenosuke unless they've had time to dry. So I won't, these lines don't often connect when I'm inking. I won't do continuous lines that connect one thing to another. I don't know. That's just how I do. So you can see the break right here in the line for the outline for the face. Or there's another break right there in the corner of the eye. I don't know, just tends to be what I do. But okay, so I'm going to fill in the black of our guy's suit. Okay, so ideally he pops right out now towards the viewer, and then just to sort of sell this intermediate space, I will come in and put emphasis lines on a lot of this sort of background information. So now that umbrella optimally pops off the background. Same with our guy here. So rather than using that third gray, I've gone straight into this black pen. So I'm doing this little outline of these different characters in the background here as well. There's Mary Tyler Moore. She's got Mary Tyler Moore here. But then I can use this the third gray. And so what would be the, this black hair, whatever, in the foreground, because I still want to push them back a little bit and not emphasize them as much as the guy in the front and right here in the front, I'll use this darker value. Huh, what was that? So there we go. So it still lets me do blacks in the background, but just doesn't force me enough to log into it. So these are the sort of thoughts that I'm bounding about in my head as I'm sketching and doodling. I don't know about other people, but I tend to come back in with that first value and start putting more things in now that I've got a real grasp on the composition and the characters in it and the depth. And just to keep it interesting, really, for myself. So there we go. So it's the idea, it's in a city scene. It's just a quick little, we'll put that in a frame. It's just a quick little sketch, right? But we're learning things. We're learning stuff along the way. So I don't know how other people go about doing it, but when I buy supplies, I'll want to play with them a little bit. I want to test them out and to see what I can learn from those. And so that's why, let me pull back out again. So that's why with my sketchbooks, they tend to be all over the map, right? With what am I drawing right now? This is grabbing a ballpoint pen and going bonkers with just drawing things with this fine blue pen. A problem I have often with pens like this is that, I really like this pen, and so I just get right into sketching out all these things and really playing with this pen, and when it runs out of ink, there I go. And it usually ends up being those pens where you got from a doctor's office or something, with your doctor's name on it, and then there you go. Now you got that fine point pen has gone the way of the dodo. But I'll do that. This is, again, playing with two markers. See if I have them around. I don't. It's an orange and a pink from this set, right? These studio are these artist series things that I think came from like a dollar store. And they have a chisel tip and a point tip, and then I use a red pen with those and explore different visual images here and experimenting and trying to put together narratives. So it's not necessarily the tools, because you can learn a great deal of things that you can then import into your other projects and your other work, but it's not necessarily the tools that matter, but the tools that you have, it's really important that you play with and allow yourself to figure out things that you could possibly do with them. And the simplest tools, like a black ballpoint pen, by looking at things, and I looked at a character from a comic book. I can't remember what it was, Earth X, I think it is, and then I just had a heyday designing my own kind of version of that and just going to town on how could I incorporate that into a story. Drawing cars, drawing whatever, playing with ideas, putting together whole pages of ideas. Light blue marker, blue pen. Orange marker, red pen. right? Didn't like this image, drew a different version of it instead. See, less impactful, more impactful. So it's playing. That's all it is trying your different tools. Gray marker, black pen, or black marker, gray marker, black marker. And looking at things that you enjoy, or just watching television, pausing it for a second. Oh, I really like the complexity of Under That Bridge. You know, I really like how those shapes go together, and this has been something I've always enjoyed, is girders and crane. You know, the construction shapes of crane at industrial sites, like the tower that builds up to those, where the crane sits on the top, or it's just a bunch of crazy figural work, character shapes, right? And then comic breakdowns. I've shown these before. But whatever you've got, like here's another way to explore your mediums, is just take your color sets that you have on something, and sometimes it helps us to remind ourselves what we have around, you know. And this, as I'm doing these little watercolor stamps here of this watercolor set that I'd purchased, at the same time it reminded me, you know what, I used to do a lot more repetitive patterns in my drawings, and so I just drew this repetitive pattern to remind myself of that. Pencil drawings, pen drawings, whatever it is, it's just exploring and playing and having fun. So that's all this is. And whatever it is, whatever the tools are that you're picking up, don't be afraid to do that, to lean into that, playing and exploring and seeing what you can do with that. I had also picked up this gray pencil that I talked about, and so I'm gonna try the same kind of thing here. Okay. Oh no, this isn't the right pencil. This is a Prismacolor. How did that get in there? What are you doing over there, Jack? All right. Yeah, you can feel how much of a different kind of lead this one is. The Faber-Castell that I referred to earlier. Okay, so I'm going to do it on the same page because the paper's there to explore. So I'm going to draw loosely in. I'm going to draw this couple talking, okay? And I'm not overly worried about all the details. We're just trying to get the idea and the moment down. And I've got another little thumbnail that it's on the same page as the one that this came from. And so I'm really I want to play a little bit more with it though. I really want to push the body language, so I'm going to make her really lean back and cross her hands here. And I'm roughing this all in, just using lines, just some shapes, right? And then we'll have him chatting her up. Hey, how you doing? Did you know I have a jet ski? I don't know what he's saying, you know. Hey, what's your favorite bonds to buy? I don't know what people talk about. So, I don't know. He could be looking at her and say, hey, how much do you bench? You know. However, the kids are flirting these days, you know. So, I'm thinking about a couple things. I'm thinking about the scale of these characters and trying to make sure that he's not 26 feet tall and she's 3 feet tall. And, you know, I want him to have a similar height. But I'm not overly specific with all of the details, because what I'm really doing is trying to figure out the overall composition and playing with that more so than I am. So I'm going to blur out some of the information that's behind them, and we'll put a storefront window here. And then because again, that doesn't really matter. So what I'll do after this is that I'll come through with these grays, and we'll start picking and choosing some of these emphasis points. So I'm drawing really lightly with this pencil, right? So if you have just a singular pencil, like a gray pencil crayon or something of the like, that isn't necessarily a limitation. You can still do all kinds of work up for a composition with just the one value, or adding in a second, like just a deeper black. It's all up to you. There's no right, wrong way. It's your picture. Do your thing. Okay, so here we are. We've got a little fence along the back, and put a car over here on the street. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so I know I got the couple facing each other. I know I got the street scene. We've got this building in behind. There's some jazz in the window. Shoe sale, who knows? But the emphasis is on these two communicating. So I want to make sure that pardon me. I want to make sure that the focus is brought on them. So, hey, let's give this girl some earmuffs. I don't know why. It's winter. Winter in Canada. We got some snow here in London. So I'm adding in some more lines, a little more details. I'll zoom in a little bit more. Sorry about that. So we can start. Ooh, monkey. Okay, so here's our composition. It's all pretty flatly drawn right now. But as I press harder with the pencil, it gives me a deeper tone. Pardon me. And as I come in lightly in the background, I can push this back. But depending on pressure, I can lighten that value or darken that value. But by flattening out the space in behind them, and then emphasizing some of the lines on their faces. Hey, I'm Rod Stewart. Or whatever he's saying to her. Don't believe him. I don't think he's really Rod Stewart, lady. So now I start coming in and putting a little more detail into some of these features and some of their clothing, or I guess earmuffs. Are they clothing? I don't know. Little hair. Bits of information. Pardon me. I gotta take a drink. I just want to play with this pencil and see all the things I can get out of it. So here's her hair. There's her shoulder. There's the outline of her hair up here. It's like, hey, you like Jenga? Oh, it's my favorite game. Yeah. So there's her hand. The body language ain't working for you, pal. That's a protective stance. Good for them. She doesn't know this weirdo. Anyhow. So we can add in a little bit of information into our guy here. So he's not just a flat silhouette. Give him a little shape to his clothes. So if I am going to black out these characters, in this case really dark gray, it's going to allow me to really emphasize the attention to be focused in on them. So even when I come through in the background, with different darker values, this one's always going to be, so this is me pressing harder, by the way, more of the focus, because it stands out enough from the background. There's enough contrast. the same thing. I always like a lot of those New York films of the 1970s where, because technology was where technology was at, it's unfortunate, but you see characters running through the streets of New York at night, and how difficult is that for the camera to really separate all these contrasting values. It just, everything washes out, and especially if you've got like a black actor running through the scene, and this inability for separation of value, and the cameras aren't strong enough to pick up all the nuances of the different colors of clothing and characters and everything else. Everything just washes out, and I always think that's ridiculous. But you'll have people get into a fight in an alleyway, and you can't see anything that's going on because, maybe in the film it might have more, or in a theater, I'm sorry, the film might have more clarity, but when you're watching it at home, it just washes out. So unfortunately, in a lot of those 70s shows, I'm trying to think of examples. I guess 80s for Hill Street Blues, that was an 80s one, that had a problem with that. Night scenes are just almost unintelligible. So I've got this information that's in the background. Right? And if I want to, I can be really cheeky. Hold on, where is it? There you are. Is that going to be... No, hold on. I gotta... Is this guy going to do the job? So I just want to blur out some of these values. So hopefully you can see that, they're just lights. And the focus is on these two crazy kids. But that's the fun thing about the eraser after the fact, is that you can come in and pull out these contrasts. Sounds like an angry hornet, this thing. Fun. Hi, Susanna. How are you? Happy New Year to you as well. So here's this couple standing now, and so hopefully that the young people are standing out in the foreground. Where is my sharpener? So let's see how crisp we can make this. So I haven't really pressed very hard. To emphasize the outline of these guys. There we go. But whatever I'm doing in the background has got to be less than this. They're just standing there talking. She's asking him questions. He's asking her questions. She's like, so, do you have any convictions? He's like, I have a conviction that salt is really not good for you. She's like, that's not what I meant. They're learning all about each other. You got a reason for wearing them earmuffs? It's cold. It's winter. That's why I'm not allowed to write romance stories. I think I covered over. Yeah, I think I had her a second hand in here. I went and covered it up. Doesn't have to be much. There we are. Young love, exciting and new. So I can come in, now that I have an understanding of where my darkest emphasis point is, my darker values, I can come back in and just start adding in the other grays, because I know that I want all of the emphasis on these two. So everything else just sort of falls in between, right? And then I can come in with that eraser again and pick and pull some contrasting light values out as well. Linda says they could, thank God someone's talking, they could just look at each other and say nothing. That's true. And there's just this sort of, there's a subtitle at the bottom of the scene, and it just says awkward pause. So, yeah. There's not enough moments like that in film. Okay, well, see ya. All right, bye. And then they do that whole tell me more conversation with their friends afterwards. I know how it goes with these teenagers. I've seen Grease. Grease is the world. Look at that, it's a ruler. Hey everybody, I'm a ruler. There's just some more information in the scene. The car in the background. None of this is all that important. I really want you to focus on them. This is just adding stuff to make the overall shot have a little bit of context, right? There we go. All right, exciting times. The OK Corral. There we are. One last bit of fun. Sweet potato. Sweet. And a comic jam tonight for those that are in London. Surrounding area. Well, it's an angry hornet. See, that's fun. So if I was going to do this with these markers that I picked up, Susanna says, I'd like to go to Greece one day. Would you? You could meet John Travolta there? Maybe it's around Greece? To meet some Greek people. Oh, right. Like what's her, the Friends lady. Paul Sorvino. Oh no, he's Italian. Okay. So if I'm going to draw this in with this light, nope, that's the wrong one. Blonde moment. Getting used to these ones. So as I'm lightly sketching this in with this marker, just take the same thing and using this as my reference. If I'm coming in and I'm drawing the same scene, put a second hand down here. Boink, boink, boink. There we are. And then I would do the same thing as I was doing up above with these Staedtlers, and that is I lay it in this lighter value, far away is he? He's over here. And then I pick and choose the things I want to emphasize with the darker pens, darker markers. I think I made him a little short. That's all right. What am I missing? I don't know how to speak Greek, except for 2 words. They're nice words, but I can't say them to all Greeks, but probably they don't know how to speak Portuguese. Well, yeah, that's the challenge. That's I think that the one of the ways in which I'm spoiled is that speaking Canadian it's there's a benefit to that so many people in other parts of the world do speak it. It's just you just still don't want to assume that everybody around you might know some English, but and you definitely don't want to go, I'm trying to order some spaghetti, because they will not give you nice spaghetti. You know, we have a thing here in Canada where if you're traveling abroad, they Travel and Tourism Canada recommends you wear a Canadian flag pin so that as you're in different countries and you're visiting and you speak to people, that they don't think you might be an American. I don't know. It's a funny thing. So here's drawing the same kind of same image using these different pens. Fun in the sun, folks. So I'm going to try to stream a little more often again. I've been away from it, you know. But I'm feeling better. Let's get to it. So I've got that third value. So now when I put that in, you know, really separates their outfits, pulls them forward, so when I put the grays in the background. And because it's just sketching, I'm not worried about, if you're doing finished drawings, you might want consistency of your value here, but this is just sketching. We're just doing what we're doing. So now when I come through with that light one, are you the light one? Yeah. Kind of. Are you the light one? Definitely not. Alright, so if I go through in the background, putting in some of these details, and I can be sneaky Pete and come in with a white and punch that out. And then go over it again. You get darker little areas. Yeah, fun. Oops. Let me pull out. There we go. So there's the gray pencil that I picked up, and then there's the same thing with these little markers. Just exploring, you know, just trying different things with these 3 pens, different grays. trying to figure out how to get different things into compositions, different intimations. I find that when you work with color, that you can get so much more impact in stuff, because it's something about the different colors that you use, really, as opposed to different variations on a gray. The different colors that you use really can pull your composition one way or another. Like, here's this, intense eyes with the dark values. When you're using these light values, it doesn't hit as hard, right? You go halfway in between, then yeah, you can get far more emotion that way because of the different values that you're able to incorporate, the field of them together. But when you draw a stern face with one value, and it has a sort of sense of menacing, tough guy face, but if I was to go through with a different color, somehow this hits harder, just that dark green, that hatchy way of with the more of a drier marker that I'm using to draw that's sort of the darker green value just hits a little bit harder. So it's all about playing and having fun. So, there we go, folks. So I'm gonna hey, it's me. So I'm gonna be coming back and streaming and doing some drawing with folks and that. Do some one pages as well. But I hope people are enjoying the sci-fi series that I'm doing right now. Feel free to give it a look, and too much pink, comment as thou wish. But I'm just having fun, and I'm just applying different things to from my toolbox by doing less random one-page stories and just posting a continuous series for a little while, at least for the month of January, and we'll see where that gets me. And then by the that should have me a nice little story arc together, and then we'll I can take a break from that and do some more one-page stuff on a daily basis, or if people are enjoying that, we'll keep doing the sci-fi thing, or maybe I'll just switch and do a different kind of story. I don't know, but this year is the no holds barred year, I think, after the last 2 years of 700 plus one-page stories. It's I'm just taking a little break for a moment here, and working on a solid project in and of itself. So the new one-page story book will be going up online very soon, and on my Amazon page, where One Page Story Extravaganza 1 and Alphabet Book are now. And I'm having a lot of fun. But thank you, everybody that's popped in today and come to hang out, and anybody that's watching this on video. I appreciate that. If you're interested in seeing more what I'm doing, I post original art and extra stuff on my Patreon page, and all those links and jazz are in down below. And if you're in the London area, come to the Comic Jam tonight, 6 to 9 at TAP. And otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow. All right. Bye for now. Thanks very much, everybody. Oh, what did that do? Oh, hold on. Suzanne said something. I'm sorry. I confess I'm not a fan of pink, but today I bought 2 pinky colors. And I thought, oh no, what happened to me? Fuchsia. Stay away from fuchsia. All right, gang. I'll be back at 2 tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye for now.